said it. I'm sure you said it. Like, it's just a regular term. It's a regular question, and I mean, it's a legitimate question. Are y'all hiring? Like, I want to know. I don't think that's the only question, that might not be the approach that you want to take when you get a job, but it's a legitimate question, and it really stuck out to me, that title. I was in Mondawmin Mall, and there was some students that just came out from Douglas High School right across the street, and I was working downstairs, like underneath the mall, in a nonprofit called Thread. So I was over there just like grabbing some cookies that I ain't need. So I'm over there, and the student came over. Girl, she came. She asked a guy the great cookie. She was like, "Yo, y'all hiring?" And at the time, I was trying to think of a title for my book, because originally the title was going to be the subtitle, which is "The Black Teen's Guide to Navigating Employment," which I just feel like it ain't pop enough. Like, it ain't have that's too quote unquote professional, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't think that's going to be appealing enough to my audience.
2013, me and a few friends from Morgan State University attended our first National Association of Black Journalists Conference. I had 4 roommates, as that was my first time going to the conference and, try to save some money. One of those roommates was my next guest, Albert Phillips Jr. Albert was the one who was one of the print majors in the group that year. And he was different. We all knew going to the conference, our idea was, let's go down there and try to land a job. While Albert, not only was he had a certain plan of jobs he was trying to look for, but he was really focused on learning and building his network through the sessions. Today, he's an educator and he's an author, as he just wrote the book, Y'all Hiring. Well, he's the guest on today's show, and ladies and gentlemen, sit back as he discusses his journey, how he went from community college to undergrad to getting his master's, all right here in the city of Baltimore. And now he's an author, and his passion, helping the next generation. Ladies and gentlemen, Albert Phillips Jr. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the line is a good brother of mine. Both of us graduates of Morgan State University, and we met in a journalism class and been good brothers ever since. And that is the one and only, the Albert Phillips Jr. Albert, what's up, bro?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me today.
Man, I appreciate it, man. One of the things that I always commended you for was your hard work and your strive for social justice before it was cool. When we went to NABJ, we were literally coming off of the heels of Trayvon Martin. And I remember, just listening, having conversations with you about that, and how, it's just unfair with the way things was going on, man. I got to ask you, how are you doing mentally? As we sitting here recording, unfortunately, just less than about 24 hours ago, a gentleman was killed by Philadelphia police. And I know it takes a toll on me mentally. How are you feeling?
I mean, every time I hear those stories, it's devastating. And you mentioned Trayvon Martin. I remember when the verdict came out, because everybody was watching, everybody was listening and trying to hear what would happen. And I remember I think at that moment, I had like a high level of belief in the court system, right? I was like, there's no way that this guy can get off of this. Although history tells us different. For some reason in that moment, I just felt like it was no way George Zimmerman can walk away after he's done this thing, right? And the verdict came out. He's smiling. They're joyful. And I just remember walking out of my house. I lived near Morgan State at the time, and I walked up. I walked up Hillen Road, and I probably walked for like an hour or two, and I started crying. Like, I just got real just distraught, because I believe that it was just another blow to us. And I've been trying to recover since. I mean, every time I hear about another one of these murders, especially by the hands of police officers who supposed to serve and protect, it just feels like it's a reminder of how much work we have to continue to do and how much farther we still have to go.
Yeah, you bring up that night. I remember exactly where I was when we found out. And you may remember we had the group chat going as
Mhm.
we was getting ready for NABJ 13. And so me and my wife and her best friend and her best friend's now husband, both couples wasn't married yet. We was at Ruby Tuesdays. We had just finished leaving the movies. And it was weird because we were surrounded by like white people, and it was like another group of black people just within arms reach, like at the next table over, and boom, the verdict comes through. And I remember just like looking at my phone, and then somebody looked across, said, I said, man, this is bull. And he's like, he got off. I said, yeah. And then I remember you putting that in the group chat about, being disappointed. And, unfortunately, we had to constantly like deal with that when we went to Florida. It was in the back of our mind. And were you in the car that went with Professor Jordan to the store?
When you went to like Walmart,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 okay.
Okay. Cause I remember shout out to Brandon L. Crawford, Brandon Crawford. I think
Right.
we both said to you, like, hey man, be careful because these stay in your ground laws are different,
It's
but
crazy how vivid your memory is, man. Like I don't remember all of these moments, but that's why we need people like you.
it's one of the things that I've always been told that I always have like the memory, like everybody will say, like my god brother said, man, you the elephant in the group, you remember everything. Um,
I wish
but
my
it was a transitional time in our life too, because coming off of graduation, going in a BJ, and but it was like all of this going on, and it's so sad. Here we are 7 years later, not much has changed. In fact, probably gotten worse, you know. So that's the reason why I had to ask you, like, how are you doing? Um,
yeah. I remember it also prompted me to write an op-ed.
mhm.
I can't remember what it was, like an independent publication that I wrote it for. But usually when things like that would happen, it would really make me want to write something. That's what we were doing, right, as
Mhm.
journalists. So um, shout out to Professor Bembry and
Oh
his
yeah, definitely.
his editorial class for helping me with my writing.
Yeah, and let's get into the education. Like me, we both products of the Baltimore City public school system. You went to that great school that's known for athletics, uh, Dunbar, but we both went to Baltimore City Community College, and it's cool because it's very rare that I talk to a fellow Panther, and somebody who's graduated with the associate's degree. And I know for me, I'm proud of mine. What made you go to B Triple C first as opposed to going right to Morgan?
Yeah. So originally I was going to go to Morehouse. I actually
Okay.
got accepted into Morehouse, but I was going for the wrong reasons. My girlfriend at the time in high school, she went to Clark, and so she graduated high school a year ahead of me in '07. So she was already down there, and I was like, I just want to find some type of way to be close to her. And so, I applied to Morehouse. I got accepted. They gave me a scholarship, but it wasn't. It was like crumbs. It wasn't anything substantial. And so at that moment in time in 2008, about to graduate. In my mind, I was like, I'm not getting no debt. I'm not taking on no loans. I just was. I wish maybe I should have maintained that stance, but at the time, I just was like anti loans. I wasn't trying to hit nothing. And so um, a lady came and spoke to me that I got a referral from my guidance counselor for this program at BCCC called Gravity Woods. And I interviewed for it. I remember a lady coming to Dunbar and we talking. And, this program paid for college. This would be for the mayor's scholars program that they have right now. this was like the premier program at the institution, as far as like scholarships. So I got into that program and paid for my tuition and paid for my books. I did study abroad for free for 3 weeks in Italy. It just seemed like the perfect thing for me to do. And then thinking about money, like, credits are credits, a class is a class. So English 101 at BCCC is the same thing as English 101 at Morgan State. And so I was happy that I made that choice because it allowed me to save some money. And, I always have a love in my heart for BCCC. I still have, I think Professor Long, which was my English 102 teacher, I think he's still there.
You had Professor Long too?
I had Long.
He is the GOAT. I'm gonna make sure he every now and then I see him pop up on Facebook. And he don't post as much, but I'm gonna definitely make sure he gets this.
Yeah, I gotta find him on Facebook. But yeah, I remember in his class I wrote a paper about Christopher Columbus actually,
Mhm.
and I think that the title was like Christopher Columbus, like the Hustler or something like that. And I think I got an A on it. I did really good on the paper. And then who else was still up there? My advisor now he's like a way different position. I think he's running possibly Graham T. Woods now. Not Jesse, um, and a few other people. So that's kind of like what went into my mind as far as decision making and going to BCCC.
Yeah, man. I had Professor Long for English 102 as well. My decision was sort of similar like yours, going to save money, but I was actually going to go to Essex because they actually had communications as a major. But the cost didn't balance out. And when you coming out of pocket, paying almost $2,000 versus $1,000 makes a huge difference. So, and it was a lady by the name of Miss Bowie. She looked at my grades coming from city and said, "Well, look, you could be a scholar." I was a Lewis scholar, and she said, "Had I got it soon enough, I could have probably been a Wood scholar." And then, I went there, and I had to go to the Harbor campus. I chose to go there first. Then it had like they had to renovate the building, so that's when I ended up at Liberty campus, and I actually had better. A lot of people think community college is one; they think it's easy, which is false. It's tough. And then they think it's just like in and out, but it's actually, there's some life to the campus. And did y'all read the book? Excuse me. Did y'all read the book Tuesdays with Maury?
And BCCC.
Yeah, in Professor Long's class.
Um, I don't that title doesn't come to mind.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Yes.
even know if I know we read like different articles. I don't
Mhm.
remember reading a specific book.
Yeah, because I know I had them for three different classes. I had them for English 102, humanities, and a journalism course that they was trying to get people to stay in because we almost didn't have enough people. Naturally, you see journalism, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get on that. Did you write in the crier or submit any articles to the crier, the school paper?
I didn't. So when I went to BCCC, I originally was majoring in professional writing,
Okay.
but I ended up changing my major, which they say hindsight is 2020. I wish I would have kept it the same. I changed it to general studies because I didn't want to take Spanish. And I just had this fear because when I was at Dunbar, I had a tough situation with French
Mhm.
because my French teacher was like out for the most of the year. I think she got a sickness or a surgery. I can't even remember, but I just know that I had a horrible experience with a foreign language. So I was like, I don't want to take another one. And I think that was like my senior or junior year of high school. But I wish I would have stuck with it and just took the Spanish and got the degree that I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely good times, man. And I know for me, one of the things I was determined was to graduate because I would meet people and say, well, I took a couple classes at BCCC, realized college wasn't for me. But once I like got settled in, I said, you know what, I'm gonna finish. Coming out, was Morgan always your first choice?
Morgan was definitely my first choice. My dad went to Morgan.
Mhm.
One of my brothers went to well, actually, two of my brothers went to Morgan. One of them finished, and so it was just one. Morgan is a legacy school. Is one of those schools that generations of families go through. And so it was definitely my number one choice for sure.
Do you think in Baltimore we take it for granted sometimes? And I'll say before HBCUs were cool in a sense, before it was trendy. Do you think we maybe have taken it for granted?
I think maybe,
Mm,
I think we're blessed to have Morgan State University right in the city, Coppin right over West Baltimore. I think it's a blessing to have these HBCUs around. I know that, it's always a good feeling. One of the saddest parts of this whole COVID thing was not being able to attend homecoming,
mm.
because you see so many people. They got their families, they got children now. You just talk about you married, right? Like all these wonderful accomplishments, and you just catching up with people, and it's hard to replicate that in a virtual space. So I think we can show some more love to our HBCUs. I try to encourage students to check out the HBCUs that we have here, because sometimes they may not check it out. They might automatically think, "Oh, I'm going somewhere else," but check out what you got in your backyard first. I think that's important.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, you get the Morgan. You were you automatically going into journalism, or did you think about getting back into professional writing, or like how'd you decide on journalism as a major?
Yeah. So journalism, I think, was my number one, because I felt bad again because I didn't do professional writing at BCCC. I did general studies,
Mhm.
and then I was like, I looked at the course catalog for journalism, and I was like, well, I don't have to take no foreign language in order to get the degree. So I was like, oh, that's it should be a breeze, hopefully. And so yeah, I either obviously I did journalism with a concentration in print, but if
Mhm.
I didn't do that, I would have done like a history or possibly business. But I stuck to journalism, especially after learning about just like the legacy of Black journalism in America, and taking Capano, and I already mentioned Bembry. We had some other professors who are no longer there. Professor Dan Wall, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful having these professors to be able to teach you the craft of journalism, as well as align you with the history that you might not get at a PWI or a different institution. So I appreciated the program there.
Yeah, we came in. We was there at the time of the transition, where
Yeah.
they would, later become the School of Global Journalism. Have you had a chance to really go back and really see what the changes have been made?
Yeah, I went there last year for homecoming. Actually, I sat down with Capano for a while. We just talked about it, and then I've been there a few times, just walking around. They still have so that was a picture that I missed. I still like get mad at myself for missing this picture, but
The
it was
Dean's
like,
List one,
what's that?
the Dean's List picture.
Dean's List picture, right? So, we graduated. I had like a 3.9 something. And there was one person, I think her name was Jazzy or Jasmine or something like that. She was like a tenth of a point above me. So I
Oh,
came in right behind her. But it was like a competition with myself. Like I was just trying to, do really well. But yeah, I remember that picture, and every time I walk by it, I'm like, I'm supposed to be in this picture. I don't know where I was at, what I was doing,
mhm.
but I wish I was in that picture.
I'm still trying to figure out. I think it was one of them that I missed, and I think it was. I don't know if it had you had to have a 4.0, but it was like the same thing. Like I made the dean's list before they started doing that. I was in the university honors program, and I would get the little paper, but for some reason, I think it was maybe one of them other classes that caused me to miss out. And it's like the same thing, like man, you know. But when you look back, what are some of the things that like what's some of your favorite memories from Morgan?
Oh man, I used to actually work for CASA.
Okay.
I think in 2012. So I miss engaging with those students who are transitioning into Morgan. from high school, and then just trying to like help them realize like this is serious. This is another level. But it was fun because we actually taught like I think it was like an English, like a high, maybe like an entry level college English type of class that I was helping to teach. So that was fun. I missed that. But also, I just miss walk. I literally just miss walking around campus, like walking to classes. I miss um, my professors. I miss, having class. It just was like it never felt like it was something that I ever regretted or didn't want to do. When I was at Morgan, I just always felt connected. I always felt like I made a good choice, as far as my career, as far as my educational journey. So I'm gonna always miss all of that. The only thing I don't miss is going over to Montebello.
Yeah, certainly. I heard they moving it
That's what
to,
I heard too.
yeah. We're still. I mean, unfortunately, financial aid is financial aid, and
Yeah.
trying to get that stuff situated. Um, but yeah, NABJ. Were you always a part of the student chapter, or did you join it closer to graduation?
I'm trying to remember the exact time. I think it definitely was closer to graduation.
Mhm.
I feel like it was in my last year because I also was writing for the paper, spokesman. Um, and so I think I may have started those things around the same time. I just wanted to become more involved. I enjoy obviously going to class and all of that, but when I was thinking about like what's going to happen next after college, I knew that networking was important, and I knew that getting my name out there was important. So I started writing more with the paper, and I started to be an active member with NABJ. But I wish, I also was a transfer student, like you. So
Mhm.
it's not like I could have been in it all 4 years. I think I joined though around like my senior year.
Yeah, I will say this. No disrespect to any regimes beforehand, but uh Dwayne Wickham coming to Morgan State really helped the school take it seriously. At first for me, I was something I knew I wanted to be a part of, but my work schedule wouldn't allow it. So I didn't realize that, hey, I could join the organization as a student. And even though I probably wouldn't be able to go to the meetings, the chapter meetings on Tuesdays, I could go to like the Baltimore Association chapter.
Mhm.
But I realized like with when Mr. Wickham got there, and he really, and then by this time I know I quit my job. I said, all right, I can focus on this last semester of school because I'm not going to work at Best Buy for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I want to do journalism and video production. I can focus. And shout out to Dwayne, my co-host Dwayne Allen. He was like, bro, look, this guy's serious. He really taking us to new levels and getting us opportunities. If you can, man, you probably want to step aside. So that's what I did. But we briefly mentioned our first trip, NABJ 2013, Orlando, Florida. Um, what's some of your favorite memories from that? The ones we can share on the podcast.
Man, I remember it was like five of us in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like we all just like broke college. We going there to look for opportunity, right? So we
Uh-huh.
obviously we ain't where we want to be at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember us all being in a room. I remember just not being able to afford all of the expensive amenities that were there. Um,
Shout out to CJ too. His uncle hooked us up with that discount.
exactly. So I just remember also just feeling like, man, like this is black culture. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? This is what happens when we do it right, when we come together, we really take our craft serious and we push each other to the next level. I also remember meeting Roland Martin. It was like a little after hour party. He just like walked in just randomly, but he real flashy, so you
Mhm.
always know that it's him.
I believe he was journalist of the year that year too.
He probably was, yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember meeting him. The workshops were amazing. Like I just was looking, so I just reactivated my Twitter and I just was looking through because at that time in 2013, everything I posted was about like journalism. Like I didn't
Mhm.
even care about nothing else. And so I looked through my messages and I saw that people I was reaching out to after we left, and just saying like, "Hey, thank you. You know, I want to keep in touch with you." Just making those connections. So that conference was amazing. I still talk to people about it today. Just in like how just in awe I was of
Mhm.
all of this magnificent blackness.
Have you been back to one since?
Have not been back in one since. So my funny thing is, after I graduated Oregon, I kind of shifted out of journalism,
Mhm.
and everybody was kind of looking at me crazy, like what? Like I even I had a job offer from the Afro,
I
who wanted me
remember.
to work there full time. And I also was looking at an internship with Double XL, but that couldn't really work because you had to be in New York. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna swing this. You know, I ain't got the funds to be able to get there, move there, attend this internship. So I had different opportunities on the table, but I just got really into youth. I
Okay.
started working for the YMCA and then Big Brothers Big Sisters and other like nonprofits. So I got really into youth development, and that took me to education, and even to where I am now.
Yeah, and I noticed that was something about you. You was always passionate about youth and like I said, social justice and just making sure that black people get our fair share and, you know, get respected equally and treated equally. Shout out to you because of you, I got a chance to meet a legend, Dick Gregory.
Oh,
And
man, I remember that.
I'm so mad because for some reason I deleted your picture. I still got the interview. I actually have that interview. Um, but and I remember texting you like, oh my goodness, yo, I was what happened. I was transferring everything over. And I think I just transferred the video files and I forgot to transfer all the photo files. And then I cleared the memory card. And you was like, yo, don't worry about it. I met Dick Gregory like plenty of times.
Yeah, yeah.
But what was that like, and especially how did that help you, using your journalism hat for social justice and black empowerment to transfer into youth development?
Man, again, I'm glad your memory. I forgot about that. That was a great experience. Like I said, I did meet Dick Gregory at least 5 or 6 times because I was into community activism, and we would bring speakers. I was a part of an organization called Soul Vibers Nation, and we would bring speakers to town. And he's one that we would bring almost every year. But I was about my community first.
Mhm.
Like before anything else, I was always about my community. And that started off when I was young. That started off when I was in high school. And I remember it's a picture that I posted online not that long ago. But I was a part of, I mentioned Soul Vibers, which was a Pan African organization here in the city. And we would partner with Nation of Islam and many other local organizations to do like different initiatives. One of the ones that we did was the Zero Murder Rate movement. Like now in the city, you have the Baltimore Ceasefire, which does amazing work that I encourage people to support, participate in. But I just remember being a part of different efforts in the community, just trying to find a way to uplift our people, to make sure that they really know their true identity in this world, and to think about what can we do differently, like what actions can we take to improve our conditions. And so that was at the forefront of my mind. And
Okay.
wherever I would go, that's always going to be a part of who I am. And so in transitioning from, obviously that came out in my journalism, and then in transitioning to youth development, I try to pour that into young people that I work with. Um, and even, when I was an educator, I had my students writing letters to the police department about police brutality, right? Like this happened after Trayvon Martin. So all of those things had to kind of go through my mind and go through my spirit in order to infuse with me, and so that I can use that in order to work with young people. So I just see them as the most. Um, I'm trying to remember the quote that Frederick Douglass said. It was like it's easier to it's easier to work with children than to repair broken men, or something like that. That's not the exact quote, but I always feel like, it's easier to help mold children than it is to work with adults sometimes, because they more stuck in their ways. And so I always just enjoy working with youth.
Yeah, man, I think that's amazing, especially you always hear people complain this generation this generation that, and it takes a special person to work with children. um I tell it to my wife all the time. She's a teacher, and she's a teacher of all boy in an all boys school, and I watch way she just sits there and actually, by we being in the midst of a pandemic, I can hear her teaching them. And like her approach is different. Okay, well, tell me about your day. Okay, no, we're not doing this. This is what we need to do. These are the expectations. This is what I'm gonna hold you accountable for. But not giving them, not making it easy for them, but not just beating them down. And I think a lot of times people don't understand. I remember when she like wrote her letter or why she wanted to be a teacher, and she explained like, I lived in the city I come from. This is where I come from, so I can understand. I can relate. Um, as you what so going into education, is that what kind of led you to really jump and go to Johns Hopkins to get your master's? And why Johns Hopkins University?
Yeah, so I think Johns Hopkins came because I knew that I knew I wanted to get more knowledge on education. I had experience from being a paraprofessional in the school system, and I had other experiences, like I said, working with different nonprofits throughout the city. But I knew that I wanted some explicit knowledge of education, and I decided to do Teach for America's program, and they have a relationship with Hopkins. TFA, they have a controversial name sometime in the country, especially when it comes to education. But I felt like it was beneficial for me because I wasn't really interested. They'll send you to different parts of the country if you want to teach, but I knew I wanted to teach right here. This is where I felt like there was a need. I think the last time I looked, only 2% of educators in the American public school system were Black men. And so I knew that there was a tremendous need, not just for us to be in that place just because we're Black, but our experience, our thoughts, our charisma, the way that we teach. When that's missing, I feel like our children are not supported properly. And so I knew that was important to me. I went to Hopkins and enrolled in that program, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about just the you know different ways to work with children. I learned about different habits to help students build, and so it was a pretty good program that I think helped me enhance my practice and take it to another level.
Yeah. Yeah. You recently wrote the book, Y'all Hiring.
Yeah,
First of all, I love the title
thank you.
because how many times, you growing up in Baltimore, that's a question a lot of times you asking your friends, you're in high school. Oh yeah, I work at so so. Y'all hiring? You go to the mall, and before you really know, excuse me, are you guys hiring? Without code switching, it's most times, especially if you see, let's be real, you see a brother in there, Foot Locker, Finish Line, GameStop. Hey, what's up, man? Y'all hiring? So is that like you use, one to tie it to like that street lingo?
Exactly, 1,000%. I've said it. I'm sure you said it. Like, it's just a regular term. It's a regular question, and I mean, it's a legitimate question. Are y'all hiring? Like, I want to know. I don't think that's the only question, and that might not be the approach that you want to take when you get a job, but it's a legitimate question, and it really stuck out to me, that title. I was in Mondawmin Mall, and it was some students that just came out from Douglas High School right across the street, and I was working downstairs, like underneath of the mall, in a nonprofit called Thread. So I was over there just like grabbing some cookies that I ain't need. So I'm over there, and the student came over. Girl, she came, she asked a guy the great cookie. She was like, "Yo, y'all hiring?" And at the time, I was trying to think of a title for my book, because originally the title was going to be the subtitle, which is "The Black Teen's Guide to Navigating Employment," which I just feel like it ain't pop enough. Like it ain't have that's too quote unquote professional, right? Like
Mhm.
I don't think that's going to be appealing enough to my audience. And so after she said it, and I thought, I kind of marinated on it for a while, I decided to go with that title, but I felt like it was the best title for the book.
When you think about, and like I said, I order my books, so folks, make sure y'all get your books, and I'll put the link in. Do you did you see? And I'm gonna ask, spoiler alert. Did you touch on going in groups? I know my mother would tell me a lot of times when I was younger. Me and my best friend Alan at the time, we would go in the mall together. All right,
Mm.
man, let's go see if we can get a job. And then, parents say, well, that might be intimidating. So maybe you should go by yourself. Is there anything that touches on that? Or do you believe in that? Or you think, like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to job searching, I think that you can enter the mall in a group, but I think when you are trying to land that position, it's about you.
Mhm.
So it's not about your homeboys, your homegirls. You know what I mean? Like it's not about being in a crew. You want to be able to come in and make yourself distinguishable. You want to make yourself prominent to the employer. And so I encourage teens to go in there by themselves, and take that no on the chin or take that yes on the chin, but be confident in yourself and your ability to try to get that position. I don't think I put it exactly that way in my book, but I do
Mhm.
talk about um, just understanding the process of applying for a job. I'm sure you got an application that like asks you a million questions, and then it gets to the work history and the educational part. You got to fill all that in. And after you already like attach your resume, and it's like, yo, it's right there. Why I gotta do it twice? So like just talking about like the annoying parts of applying for jobs, and how sometimes it can be frightening. It can be unfulfilling at times, but it can also be very rewarding. To get your first paycheck, to put, hopefully, I talk about money management a little bit in the book, but just put some money to the side, saving some and spending some. I talk about some ways that I just blew money
Mhm.
from different jobs that I've had. And so I try to put myself back in my shoes of being a teenager. And so I tell a lot of personal stories, but I also try to make it empowering and uplifting. And I try to speak to the culture of Black youth. A lot of job guides that I see out there, they just not they're just not doing enough when it comes to really laying out like what is this navigation process like. Like, yo, you might be a victim of racism. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that should be foreign to talk about when it comes to employment in Black youth, but oftentimes that's taken out of the discussion. We leave it at, get a suit, learn how to interview and get your resume, and that's it. And there's so much more that we have to talk about and discuss. So I try to put it in the book.
Yeah, I'm excited to tackle it. And as a father of a well, about soon to be 11-year old, before I'm gonna blink my eyes, and next thing you know, he gonna be out looking for jobs. And so that's the thing I'm excited too, is to be able to give him the book and say, hey, read this. I wish, because one of the things that stood out Well, when you posted about it, was saying, you wish you had something like this when you was young coming up. What moment, if you can remember, was it that made you say, "I need to write this book"?
Yeah. So originally, I did want to write the book. I was literally working. I can't remember exactly which job. I mean, I started writing a book at my last job, but even before then, um, I was looking for I was looking for a book like this. I was looking for something that I could use as a resource because I was doing workforce development work throughout the city, and so in that work, I've helped you know hundreds of youth apply for jobs, and I've helped conduct workshops and brought in speakers and all of these different activities to help young people get closer to that goal of employment. But I didn't really feel like I ever had exactly what I needed as far as a resource that was culturally competent, and that would really interest a young person in doing some of these things that we all have to do to get jobs. And so I looked on, your Amazons, your Barnes and Nobles, all of your major book retailers. I was just not Googling, but I was looking up, how to get a job for Black teens or something like that, right? I was typing in these titles. I looked on Google as well, and I didn't see it. Everything is kind of written in like a race neutral sense, right? Like everything's like the same, everything's cookie cutter, but it's like it's not the same. It's not the same for everybody. It's not the same for every race and every group of people. And so I think it was important to have some distinctions within the book. And so I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to write the book. I wanted to just grab it and use it as I was working. But after time and thinking, I was really transitioning to wanting to be an author. And so I was trying to figure out like what's going to be my first book.
Mhm.
Um, I have at least like 5 or 6 book ideas. This is just the first one. But I was going to start with a children's book series that I'm still going to do. But I was like, I wanted to be something connected to what I'm doing now. And then as people know me as an author, as a writer, I'll get closer to some of those other things that I really want to do. Like I want to do a memoir, many, many other things. But I'm like, nobody knows me as an author yet. So like
Mhm.
they may not respect those books. And so this was the first one that came to me. And it's been a success so far.
Yeah, man. Well, definitely congratulations on that. Um, the title of the show is called "Breaking Through the Glass Ceilings." When did you realize you broke through the glass ceiling? Obviously, we all have goals to, continue to be bigger and better than what we're doing now. But when did the moment come when you realized like you were living in your purpose?
Oh man. I don't even know if it was a particular moment, but one, I'll say that I feel like I'm 5% in, right? Like I feel like I did like 5% of my life's work and I'm
Mhm.
30 years old. So I feel like I still have a long way to go. But I also think that just seeing a reaction from other people, when I was an educator in a classroom, I still consider myself an educator. I still work for Baltimore City Public School System. I'm still working with youth all the time. I'm just not in the classroom. But in seeing young people's minds grow. I remember having a student. I used to teach 5th grade, and I had a student who he just was struggling. I mean, when he first started, it was just like he was like, man, he would be stressed out, like crying, like distraught, because the complexity of work was different than what he was used to in 4th grade. So it was like I gotta read a chapter a night. I gotta write an essay. I gotta, and we scaffold things out. And we don't just give that all to him like one time, but it was just tough for him. He was getting some bad grades, and so he really dug in. He started to come to coach class. He started to talk more in class around the work and not just like random stuff on TV. And so to see him go from being a student who was receiving failing grades to a student that was getting some of the highest grades in the class just showed me that like perseverance exists within our children. And then even now, just seeing a reaction from the book, I just posted, I think yesterday, a teacher, friend of mine, he purchased the book, and I think his school they're like in the classroom now. I don't know which district he's in, but he said he had the book on his desk, and one of the students kind of walked by and looked at it, and she went to the bathroom, and then he said she came back into the room and was like, can I check that out? You know what I'm saying? Can I read that book? So obviously the cover. Shout out to my Kia Hugley, my cover designer. Obviously, it was appealing to her, and so like stories like that, just I love because I wanted to make the cover something that would just grab you, right? Grab a teenager and make them want to open it up. And I wrote it in a way like, look, you don't have to read the whole book to get something from it.
Mhm.
You can read a few pages. I kept the book short; it's under 100 pages because I knew if it was like 400, which it easily could have been with this type of employment, some people would have been like, nah, bro, like I'm not picking that up, But just seeing her reaction to that inspires me, and it makes me feel like I'm living in my purpose.
That's awesome, man. Let the people know where they can get the book.
Absolutely. So you can get the book. I encourage you to get it from albertphillipsjr.com, and you'll get an autographed copy from me, just like Brian's getting. But you can also get it anywhere else books are sold. But again, I encourage you to get it right from me. And if you're interested in getting both copies, just email me at hello@albertphillipsjr.com, and we can talk about that, and I can get you looked up.
Awesome, man. I definitely appreciate your time. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so on Instagram you can find me at the ambitious black guy. And you can also follow the book page at y'all hiring book is the Instagram book page. And just look me up, Albert Phillips Jr. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. I just got back on Twitter. You can find me on there too.
Yeah, man. Definitely appreciate you taking the time out to, come on the podcast. We get a chance to catch up, and most importantly, appreciate what you're doing, man. The kids need it, bottom line. So
Thank you for taking me down memory lane, man. I really feel like it's some things that I should have like recorded in my mind that I'm glad that you captured. But that was fun.
hey, man, sometimes all you gotta do is just go on NABJ hashtag NABJ13, and it'll definitely take you back, especially real quick. I remember when, we talk about the conference, and you was going to all the sessions. It was like we get up, you was like, y'all, all right, I'll be back. I'm going to a session here, and I'm gonna go to this one. And it was like you had your whole schedule mapped out. We was just job fair. Okay, cool. Me, it was hard. Like I went to job fair Thursday. You remember? Did you go to the ESPN breakfast?
I think I did. I
Yes.
know. Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, I went to the breakfast, and then went right to the job fair. Started at 9:03. I was in ESPN's line. And after which I would meet a good friend of mine, Aaron Hilton, who was there on behalf of ESPN, and he was like kind of like helping recruit. And then the God would have it, I get the job, and he was like one of my close friends. But the funny part was just trying to stay motivated. And I went to like a couple sessions, but you was at all of them, and you like had the whole list. And so that,
I was trying to make the most out of that experience, man. And even when
yeah.
we went to the job fair, you know, I had a particular like I was only trying to work for a particular type of publication. So
Mhm.
it wasn't even many jobs there that I even like wanted. Um, I think back like maybe I should have kept them a little bit more broad. I know you ended up with a great opportunity from there, so it worked out.
Yeah, it was a blessing, and go. I went to DC in 2016, but just the events. I didn't go to like the full thing because I was working, but I went that Friday night to like the hotel and then the party. Um, but I went to 17 in New Orleans and 19 in Florida, Miami, and those were great. But like me and B Croft was saying, Orlando was just special. Like it doesn't compare because it was the first time and everything. And the thing I was proud about our group was we didn't. When I go now, you're like the OG, and you see like so many kids that's like overwhelmed. but we just like took it by storm. So yeah, we're gonna have to have a reunion in the group chat one day.
Hey, I'm down for it.
Yeah. But all right, man, I definitely appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you really enjoyed that conversation with Albert. It was always an honor and pleasure to catch up with people doing this podcast. A lot of times I get to go down memory lane, and that's the thing I really enjoy about doing this. As we talked about NABJ a lot. Speaking of NABJ, I bring on another NABJ brother of mine, the one and only on Twitter. He's Uncle JB, Jamal Brown. I met him in person at NABJ in Miami. But it was real cool because I got a chance to put a name to a face that you see on Twitter. Well, he comes on next week to discuss his journey in the business, including, hosting his own podcast, but also just taking an unconventional route, being a sports fan and translating his sports fandom into the business. So, folks, make sure you hit the subscribe button and tell your friends about the podcast. And remember, don't let anybody set up a ceiling you can't break through. This podcast was recorded and edited by B Waters Productions. The music by Hypno Beats. Make sure you follow him at Hypno_Beats with a Z on Instagram.